God bless you. God bless you, everyone. And thank you for joining Elder Kirk on today. I would just like to say God bless you, and God bless you again. Because on today, what we're going to deal with is connections. The name of the podcast is A Simplistic Word with Elder Dwight Kenneth Kirk. I was messing with my phone when I started, so it threw me off a little bit. So everyone that has joined me today, I want to discuss connections. I want to get out of the traditional way that we believe in connections, and also I want to deal with divine connections. Okay, I want to deal with divine connections. You've heard me speak on this before, but on today we will get a little more in depth. Now, when we talk about connections, everyone, we're pretty much talking about being connected with someone. Now, the first definition of connections is a relationship in which a person, thing, or idea is linked or associated with something else. Now, that's what happens a lot of times if you're starting a business, or sometimes it's friends, and you feel that connection. It's like, you know what, I really, this person or this idea or anything that, you know what, this is something really, I would like to pursue. Now, what we're talking about connections in the building. Now, the thing about the connections in the building, the only time you hear about connections is divine connections. Now, let's go with divine connections. Now, divine connections are those associations or relationships that God has preordained for you. Now, I'm going to be honest. The only time that you usually hear about, a divine connection is usually, like you've heard me say before, when the pastor is that might be bouncing off of another pastor, and they're not familiar with each other, and things start going and they start growing to, and things, really start to click, and then they say, okay, thank God this is divine connection. Now, if y'all remember when I was talking about this before, I said our children are our divine connection. Why? Because God chose us to take care of them. God gave us our children, and we have a job to do in raising them and giving them proper guidance and things like that. That's divine, and that's the divine connections that we should thank God for more than anything. But usually we give God praise for pastor being connected with another pastor, and then, all of a sudden this great thing begins to occur. Now, let's make sure that we have this clear. Divine connection is not in the Bible. I do not, I don't like the tradition of that word. And with that word being, thrown around so much that we begin to believe, because now, hold on now, people will use scripture now, because I did research, and they said Abraham, it was a divine connection with God. Moses, it was see? Do you see where the divine connection is? With God. But if we don't study and we don't hear the voice of God, we'll just continue to believe that divine connection is in the pulpit. We don't have divine connections in our lives, or leadership gets divine, but not everybody else. We have to get out of the traditional way of thinking about connections. Please understand, Elder Kirk, everybody, it's about a personal relationship. It's about a personal relationship. And when we do the personal relationship with God, guess what happens? It's a divine connection. And as the definition said, it's already preordained. Come on now. And what we have to begin to look at is stop looking at connections with just connections of getting ahead. Let me get connected to this person or connected to that person on a business level, or as Elder Kirk has said on many times, mega churches are usually good for business. You get a lot of business people in mega churches, and sometimes they find employees, and sometimes they get with another business, and things just begin to grow, or whatever the case may be. But what we're talking about here, everybody, is a connection with God, the divine connection that God has ordained you to have, but because of the business building, you're not believing that. We get beat up so much. We're told, we're beat up with the word, and then we forget that we are beautifully and wonderfully made, except when we are reminded, and then once we're being scorned in the next breath. And please stay with me. If you've noticed the many years that you've been in the church, and the time that when, let's say that spanking needs to come, the spanking, sometimes we have to get a spanking in the business building, to keep us straight. So, we'll be obedient to the pastor. To God, and we need to get a better understanding. We need to begin to study our word, and we need to take out the middleman. Elder Kirk has said on many times, hey, Bible study, baby. Bible study. Go to Bible study. Go to Bible study. If your decision is to pay your tithes at Bible study. Nobody can truly get a full understanding of why they go to church on Sunday to the big Sunday ticket. Because that's where everybody is, and that's where I see my friends, and that's where, and let's be honest, and I'm not talking about leadership, I'm talking about the people. For them 2 days or more, sometimes we don't see each other. But because of let's say, the connection with the building and the familiarity with the people in the building, guess what happens? They become better than family. How do you know, Elder Kirk? I told you it's only been, this year, make 5 years away from the building. I remember very well, but as everything was separated and all of that tradition had to be taken out. But the personal relationship, be connected with God. Okay, see, we put divine connection because we put God on that, and like I said, it's a word that we made, and we've almost put it in the Bible, and it's only for the higher ups. It's not for everyone else. Y'all, in these coming weeks, what we are going to continue to do, and I think we're going to have to do a little more research in it, is the people need power. Did you hear me? The people need power. Hold on. I heard no prayer, no power. Well, let me. I posted something, and you may turn me off. I posted something, and the people had their hands on Donald Trump. They were praying, and I said, I'm not going to do that. Oh, Elder Kirk, you're going to die and go to hell. Just real talk now. Didn't you pray for Bush? Senior and junior? Didn't you pray for Bill Clinton? Didn't you pray for Barack Obama? Now, Elder Kirk is a little older. Didn't you pray for Ronald Reagan? Remember what Elder Kirk said? I said, it's praying amiss. I can say that I'm a Christian all day long, but when I get on that job, that Christian stuff don't have no place on my job. I've said this to y'all before. Politics has no heart, no love. Okay, you can do a few good things, but when it comes down to it, there's no place for God when they on that floor. There's no place for God when it says, when, like I said before, it's only for the higher ups and everybody else to work. You just need to work and die. Because we need to be taken care of and you need to die. We need you in a place, in a position where we're doing well, but we don't want you to do well. And I'm not talking about just people in projects and stuff like that. I've said this before, I'll say it again, including white people. Haven't you prayed for this government? Some of you pray for this government all your lives. And you still come up on the short end of the stick. I clarified this before with you, everyone. I said when this government is not on God's shoulders. This government is ran by man. This is man's thing. And y'all use the scripture in the Old Testament when it says he will have God's government on his shoulders. He will have the government on God's shoulders. And that was talking about the coming of Jesus Christ having God's government on his shoulders, not man's government. I've heard it preached, and people believe it. We can agree to disagree. I do not believe, and I will be honest with you, I do not believe God has anything to do with this government. Nothing. Understand this. I've heard that people prophesied and said that Trump was going to be president. I'm not taking anything from that. I just understand by now that that has nothing to do with Elder Kirk. That will not help Elder Kirk move forward. It's just going to make sure that Elder Kirk pays those phony taxes and those other things that I'm very much aware of now. And that's just the way it goes. I need you to understand something, everybody. I deal with the brainwash, and we're going to begin to get the people some power. And I'm not talking about no power just to fight the government or no power to... I'm talking about some self-confidence. I'm talking about being happy with who you are. Nobody is understanding that the attack on personal people now. Like I said, I'm not a Me Too fan. The only reason I'm not a Me Too fan, I believe, understand this, I believe that the people that were done wrong deserve their justice. But I'm talking about the people that go overboard. I'm talking about the women that go the extra mile. That's where I have my problem. But when it's not, I'm sorry, when someone has been raped and done wrong, and I have seen many, please lock them up, burn them up, I don't care. They don't deserve any good. And y'all know that we have seen some stuff in these past couple of years on that. Young lady was raped, thrown in the trash can. The judge said what? Oh, this young man has a good future. Let's not do that. Are you kidding me? Now there, I want Me Too to go buck wild on that one. But not on, you understand, I'm talking about... I think I said this before. A young man said, you look pretty good today. Woman said, you're not going to sexually harass me? Give me your truck number. I'm calling the cops right now. And sure, they called the cops, said that this man, he was on the top of the truck moving the ladder. Y'all saw it? That's too much, too far. Good Lord. Good grief. But when I say I'm just not a fan of the fanatics, but I am a fan because that's wrong. And my wife has been, a victim of that. So I understand to a certain degree, okay? And I guarantee you, I'm going to leave that alone. But I just need you to understand something, everybody, and I'm not going to be before you long on tonight. I need you to understand that with connections, we have to be connected with God, and God will give us the connections through discernment of the people that we need to be around.